and gentlemen, welcome to episode 1 of the GAMR Podcast, featuring Jeffrey.
Oh,
Anthony,
he's my government name.
Also known as Solo Rager, Odin's Reach, and Legendary Marvel on the Twitterverse. Welcome.
You're like cutting out there.
Yeah, it sounds like you're cutting it out there.
Welcome.
This is definitely episode 1.
Episode 1. We made it. We made it.
I think your sound suppression is cutting you out there, buddy.
Okay. Nobody wants to hear that. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
No, you were coming in and out though.
We're here. Okay. Episode 1. We made it here. We're getting it off the
here.
ground.
We're finally going.
I don't
It's
care
been like
how
a-
rough it
what,
is.
A year in the making
what
or something
she
like
said.
that.
No shit.
Rough.
Like,
Rough status was about a year ago, wasn't
what is
it?
happening? What is happening right now?
It was probably longer ago than that, wasn't it? It was pre-COVID, probably, wasn't it? That we first discussed it.
Podcast?
Yeah, wasn't it about? I would say it was pre-COVID.
I think we've always said, like, hey, we should annoy the rest of the world with the things that
True.
we say to each other.
True, but when did we start getting a little bit more serious about it? I know that we've always said, like, oh man, this would be great. Like, we should have our own show. We should do podcasts. We should do this and that. But like, when did we actually get to the point where we're like, you know, maybe we should actually do that? Like, it was about
Like
Probably
May
like a week ago.
2019.
wow, come on now, no. That's
Yeah,
when we like
when I
got
bought my
serious
microphone.
about. But,
That's
like,
when we did, yeah.
I want to say it was. I want to say it was pre-COVID that we first brought it up, and we're like, yeah, we should do that, and then we didn't ever actually get to it.
I don't know what pre-COVID means. Okay, because I feel like
So-
pre-COVID was the beginning of time.
At this point, yeah.
My calendar does say pre-COVID, so
Pre-COVID, yeah. There's no more AD and BC. It's like
it's still BC.
it's BC before COVID and then AC after
Yeah,
COVID.
right.
Is that ever a thing? Like now it's like with COVID, just WC.
Yeah. But I mean, if you have COVID, you didn't have it. We're not going to talk about that. That's not what we're here for. Anyway, how about those
Anywho.
Broncos finally firing Vic Fangio? I'm just so happy. Like, we won our Super Bowl. We got rid of our coach.
I mean, at least you guys.
Wait,
are, like,
You're calling him a
official?
coach?
Well, I can't anymore since he's gone now.
I don't know.
He's in
But
limbo.
I'm
He's in
so
limbo.
glad he's gone. Now they just need to get rid of Gordon so we can stop fumbling the damn ball all the time.
They way overpaid for him, and I knew that when they went out and got him. And I was kind of surprised to see them do that, and then go and get Williams. That kind of surprised me a little bit.
They could have been so much better with just Lindsey and Williams.
Oh yeah, Lindsey too. I feel bad for Lindsey because he ended up in that mess of a backfield in Houston,
And then went to Miami.
Yeah, now he's in Miami. He did. He's only what, I don't even know how many carries he has this year, but it's
Probably less
underwhelming,
than
and
20.
he's a great player for what he is, and he's not getting the touches he needs.
Right.
No, I
Tough to
agree.
do
I
anything
think,
when you're not getting the ball.
I don't know.
I'm
AFC
just
West.
so glad that the Chiefs are not the number 1 seed.
You know,
'Cause-
the year they won the
Bruh.
Super Bowl, just going to say here, they were the number 2 seed that year. Little
Don't care.
FYI,
Stop living in the past.
little tidbit
We're living
of
in the now.
information for you.
That's not a tidbit. That's a waste of my life.
So they actually had the 1 seed last year and went in and got their asses handed to them.
Yeah, I know. I was there. I wasn't there, but
Oh,
I
We
watched
saw
it happen.
We all watched it happen.
was-
we all
I was
laughed
live when it
and
happened.
Loved
Yeah.
it, and
I was
yeah,
crying in my
yeah.
sleep, curled
The
up.
only
with a
time I cheer
ball
for
in the
Tom Brady in
corner.
the Super Bowl.
Yikes, dude. You know, as much shit as I would love to give Tom Brady, the dude just balls out.
He does. He does.
He
As much as
makes
I
it
hate him as
happen
well.
when it
Wow.
counts. And I think that's what bugs me is the fact
not
that he
even
can
real, bro.
still, he's never really out of the game. And
Unless he plays
that's-
Eli. But then again, that's in the past.
Unless he plays Eli or the Saints, for that matter. For
Wow.
whatever reason, he can't make it past the Saints during the regular season.
Well, it's regular season, no matter. He
Wouldn't be
destroyed
that
the
some-
shit out of them in
Wouldn't that be
postseason.
some shit if they met up in the playoffs, right? First
they won't.
round. I don't know. It could happen.
No. 'cause
Hypotheticals
Brady's,
here. Hypotheticals.
Brady's either not going to play next year. He'll still play. But The Saints are not good enough to make the playoffs for a couple years.
Dude, Taysom
They
Hill beat
barely-
him twice. I rest my case.
Taysom Hill didn't beat anybody. Okay, it's a team
Taysom Hill
effort.
beat him twice.
No, team
He
effort.
lost twice to Taysom Hill
So does
in
Patrick
the same
Mahomes
season.
his win yesterday, is that considered a come from behind victory, even though it was the defense that gave him the lead?
I mean, technically, he gave him the lead with a
that
2-point
was
conversion.
that was a rhetorical question because I know the answer.
So, I don't know how much we want to go into details here.
But I mean, the NFC is looking kind of fun though for the playoffs, because you got the Packers, the Bucks, the Cowboys, the Rams, the Cardinals, the Niners, the Eagles. You got a lot of birds, and we got a bunch of white guys. So you got white Cowboys, white Raiders, Buccaneers, and then the Rams.
Yo.
Joe Burrow is going all the way.
All
Calling
right.
it right now.
So, Vic Fangio, probably one of the first coaches to be let go at the end of the season. Does he end up with another team as a coordinator? Yes or no?
No, maybe. Who though? Like I can't think of anybody that he like in any way that he was successful with the Broncos.
Defense.
The Broncos.
They
had the top
said that
scoring
they
defense.
great on defense.
They had the top scoring defense in the league there for a little bit.
So who do we think are in the hot seat here? So I can see there's a couple places that I could see him landing, and it's the
I think
same.
he's going to get
same
another head coach
situation.
job. I think he'll.
Probably not.
I think he gets pulled on as a coordinator. That's my honest opinion, and it's a D coordinator. He's got a great defensive playbook. He really does. I mean, look what they did to KC last night. Regardless of having Hill off the field, I mean, Hill hasn't been playing a ton of snaps anyway the last 3-4 weeks. We're getting the ball. It just hasn't been a big part of the game plan. But they were able to go in there and essentially shut Mahomes down for 3/4 of the game.
Honestly speaking, I can see him end up at someplace like Minnesota. I mean, they've obviously got to clear some house, and I think that Zimmer is going to be gone. I think that they're going to revamp that whole coaching staff, and I can see Fangio going somewhere like Mini.
Okay, so if Fangio
Washington
gets picked up as coordinator, I think at this point we can all agree that Mike Zimmer's time in Minnesota has expired.
I think he's going to retire in general.
I think it's expired.
I can see that too. I can see Zimmer going that route where he wants to end up I mean, it seemed like he enjoyed his time at Minnesota. I haven't read or heard a lot of press conferences saying otherwise. But it sounded like he enjoyed his time there, and it was mutual for the most part until especially this season when things kind of really turned away from Kirk Cousins being the issue, and then they realized that was more of a coaching issue. Because Kirk Cousins, when he needed to, for the most part, he performed. But when it came down to coaching selections, the play calling, it was less so.
Yeah, but I think we have to put the blame there on Mr. Clint Kubiak for his lack of production and the lack of wanting to push the ball, right? Yeah, you have Dalvin Cook as arguably one of the best running backs in the league.
I would say
on the ground as far as
top
scrimmage
5 or top
yards
3. What are you thinking here?
And straight rushing. I would say he's a top 3 running back.
Top 3? Who else would you put up there?
Lamar Jackson.
Wow. No.
What do you mean no?
As far as running backs, I would actually
Derrick Henry 100%.
Derrick Henry's got to be number 1.
And then number 2, it's Derrick Henry's left leg. And then number 3, it's his right leg. Okay?
Derrick Henry,
as much as I can't debate that,
Taylor,
I'm going to give
Cook, I would
agree with that. And actually, I would put David Montgomery at a close second, third, right behind Cook. Because he's, in my opinion, I think David Montgomery is probably the most underutilized running back in the league for the talent that he has.
Yeah, I mean, I can get behind that a little bit. He's done well when he's been given the chances. I will say that. But
you got to give him the chances. All.
Well, and Yeah, this year he got more once he came back. Last year it was tough because there was Terry Cohen, and they tried to split those carries, and it was one of those things where he didn't get the production that he needed because he couldn't get the ball. Like it's hard to me. It's hard to get momentum as a running back when you don't get consistent carries. Yeah, there's that case to be made that by having this running back by committee that it's forcing them into a competition with themselves. But to me, you need that rhythm. You need that feel to get things moving. Like, it's not just about like, oh, well, I'm fighting for my job. Here we go. If I'm hot, now I'm going to get the ball. I think that there needs to be more to it than just give the ball to the hot hand.
Right. Well, what about Taylor though from Indy? He's really not.
You mean the leading rusher in the league right now? I think he's a solid number 2.
What's crazy is that he probably didn't become the leading rusher until Derrick Henry was out for half season, was still the leading rusher forever.
It was like a game and a half or something like that, wasn't it?
Every time Taylor touched the ball, the dude just was. I think it was like 2 weeks, not be stopped.
2.5 weeks.
It was yeah. I mean, it was a while, but
that's still wild.
A while.
That's still wild as fuck.
It was one of those things too that Taylor, like, what did Taylor have last season? I want to say he had 1,000 yards, right? But
it's a good question.
Didn't get chances until 8 weeks in. Like, how long was that backfield the committee too? Like, it was him, Mac, and Nyheim Hines, and they were going like a 3-headed running back approach. And again, even Taylor being as good as he is now, he didn't get like really moving until I want to say it was like week 8 or week 9 of last season that he finally started getting rolling. And then after that, he had 100+ yard games pretty much every game after that. It was one of those things where once he got rolling, he got rolling.
He had just under 1,200 yards rushing last year.
Yeah, and what was his first 100-yard game? Can you look that up for me real quick? I want to say it was
this year. Or are we saying this year?
No, last year. Because he had, I want to say, prior to when he finally started.
First 100-yard game last year was the first game.
Oh, well.
253 yards?
In his first game?
According to ESPN.
First game is a starting running back? Or his first game on the field?
That was the last game. That's bad.
I was going to say, there's no
way.
Week
2, he rushed for 101 yards against Minnesota.
Oh, figures.
Minnesota. I mean, that hardly counts.
Right. Yeah.
But after that,
but it does count.
He went 1. So week 1 it was 22, and then 101, and then after that it was 59, 68, 57, 60, 22, 27, 12, 90, 91, 150, 83, 74.
So what was the 150?
The week Raiders.
Week what?
17, 15, 16, 15, 14?
Week 14 of last year. So yeah, I mean, it took him a while. Like, there was a big period in there, and I know that I was one of those too, because like I drafted him in fantasy, and I after week 2, I'm like, yeah, this is it. Like, he's finally got his break. He's gonna, not finally because it was week 2, but I was like, he's got it. He's got his break. He's made the point that he's here. He's real. He's gonna get the carries. And then they went away from him, and then they were using Mac, and they were using Nyheim Hines, and it was just a veritable shit show. And it was, not until he finally started, like, towards the end of the season when they were like, okay, we're gonna give it to him, and he produced. And then started this year too, he did the same thing. He was overshadowed pretty much the whole season up until Henry got hurt, but he'd been producing the whole season up until that point. Like, he was behind Henry, but he wasn't that far behind, was he? What were the stats when
Henry? You almost can't even compare him to Henry because the dude is just
Henry's
a beast.
A monster, but they don't have, like,
it's also two different types of offenses.
It really is.
Yeah, you have one Derrick Henry offense, and you have 2 where Carson Wentz is throwing 5 times in a game.
Well, last year they didn't have Carson Wentz, and so like to go from that to this year. But like, because I mean, even with this year, they didn't have.
What did they have? Like, they had Brissett playing most of the year, right?
They had Rivers last year.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Philip Rivers last season.
But they didn't have T.Y. Hilton for very long this year. They didn't even start with him during the season, if I remember right.
Nah, I think his days are numbered too. He just can't stay healthy. As much as I love the dude, the guy is a great receiver, but he can't stay healthy. And in this league, I mean, if you can't maintain at least halfway through the season, I mean, teams aren't going to want to stick around and pay you.
Yeah.
Not what he's getting paid right now, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely not.
But there aren't really any teams that would like take a chance on him that would need a wideout right now. Like, because really, in my mind, the team that always wants to grab somebody that they don't need and then waste them away are the Patriots.
Fair. I was going to say the Vikings because they do the same thing, but not so much.
Well, I mean, the Vikings have been like that since the beginning of their organization.
Oh, yeah.
Bill Belichick will take almost anybody to an extent.
Not so much at the wide receiver position. The Vikings do it time and time again at the quarterback position. If you're an old, washed-up, has-been quarterback, like, guaranteed you're going to end up at the Vikings at some point. I just can't wait until we get Rodgers in 4 years and he's got COVID in both toes and he ends up coming out and gets us to the Super Bowl and then loses it for us.
You don't think he's going to go to Denver like everybody thinks he's going to do?
I don't. He probably will. I'm just saying. I said 4 years, man. Like, he can go to the Broncos for 2. I mean, Brett Favre went to the Jets. I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I'll wait. It's gonna happen.
I saw a report the other day. I don't remember when, but like they're like, oh yeah, Matt Ryan's probably going to go to the Broncos. I was like, why? Why would I? Why would?
I don't see Matt Ryan leaving Atlanta. I don't. I think he's going to finish his career there.
He might retire if they let him go, or he might try one team.
Interesting.
But it would have to be like a team that is.
Just a one-off note here, since we did bring up the fantasy aspect here just not too long ago, our very own Mr. Mark here, legendary Marvel himself, happened to win this year's fantasy league. Congratulations.
The belt will be on another cast. I'll bring it.
Now, there will be an asterisk next to your name on the belt, just because we have highway robbery, grand larceny, ladies and gentlemen, of first-round picks.
First of all, this is our first episode. You say ladies and gentlemen like there's anybody watching or listening. Hi, Mom.
Grand larceny, just straight up robbing people of their first-round picks this year. This guy has a talent for doing so at a level that Derrick Henry can't even run. Put that into perspective for just a second.
Solid players for those picks. I'm pretty sure who else did I give up? I gave up Josh Allen too. Who took my Josh Allen for?
Okay, that was I would say that was a fairly standard trade in my opinion, and I would also say that he's still top 2 quarterback in the league. He got me a lot of points when he was healthy.
He ain't top 2 quarterback. What the hell are you talking about? You just talk praise about Tom Brady, then we talk about Aaron Rodgers, and you're trying to say Josh Allen.
I think Josh Allen is better than both of them.
11-6.
I think Josh Allen is better than both of those, but that's for another time.
At the time coming into the season, I think that Josh Allen was worthy of that first round.
Still is. Absolutely is.
You just said that Josh Allen is number 2 in the league for quarterbacks.
Who?
Josh Allen.
Josh John?
You said Joshua Allen is number 2 in the league. Is that what you said?
I said he's a top 2 quarterback in the league.
So that means number 2. Because who's number 1?
Who's number 1?
Pat Mahomes.
Huh?
Boom. You heard it here, folks.
Are either of those two up for MVP?
The GAMR Podcast. NFL quarterback rankings.
With conversations like that.
Pat Mahomes, number 1. Josh Allen, number 2.
This is why this guy doesn't win championships in fantasy football. Just saying.
Gardner Minshew at a tight number 3.
Sounds about right.
Oh my God.
All right. Okay. All that shit aside, I'm a fan of Gardner Minshew. That guy can ball out when he has to.
How
And he
did
reminds
do
me of
today?
some
I didn't
character off
actually-
of Top Gun.
That
Dude is
is
just
true.
nuts. Uncle Rico comes to play every Sunday.
And yet they
Wow.
didn't make the playoffs.
Well, because they didn't play Minshew the whole season, man.
I'm just kidding. They did make the playoffs, bro. So
I
you don't
was
even know what
gonna
you're
say,
talking
I'm
about.
pretty sure-
You don't even know what you're
pretty
talking
sure they
about.
made the playoffs.
You're giving praise
Wait,
to the number
okay,
2 quarterback.
What did they do today? How did they do?
Eagles won.
They played yesterday.
last night. They played last night.
Eagles won.
Yeah.
By a landslide. Who did? Or
Played
no.
Cowboys. No, Cowboys won.
Oh, they lost. They lost. It was like 51-26.
They also played yesterday.
They played.
Yeah, it was last night.
Played
That's right.
yesterday. It was
They were the
51
second
51-26.
Yes.
I wanna
game
say
on
it was
Saturday.
The
the
7th seed. in the
Where
NFC.
is the box
And-
score? There we go. Stats.
I'm pretty
Eagles.
sure. Are Colts still in it
Yeah,
now?
it wasn't
Or
bad
are they out
as
now?
not that. Well, they had Greg Ward in there for a little bit.
No, they're out.
Yeah. So
The only team on the bubble right now are the Steelers.
what do they have?
I think pending this Raiders game,
No
right?
matter what, they make it. I mean, not no matter what. If the Chiefs or the Chargers win, Steelers make it. If the Raiders win, Steelers make it. If they tie, the Steelers don't make it.
Interesting.
That 1 in 3 chance.
Playoff picture. Here we go.
Oh.
So we've got. Oh, they're on the bubble. So these teams would be outside looking if the season ended.
Are you going to
today.
re-say what I just said?
It doesn't say what they need to have happen, though.
I just told you.
Top 2
Do you need-
quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah. Do you need to get checked for
basically,
CTE?
yeah. Okay. So they'd replace with one of the teams. Well, let's go Raiders.
You're killing me,
First
bro.
and last time you'll ever hear me say that. Are there any Raiders fans out there?
You might have to check the
Sorry, not
tightness of
sorry.
that hat. Fucking can't hear shit. Oh, yeah, clean out your ears. Maybe you hear me better.
Uh-huh. But anyways. Yeah, I really would not want to see the Chargers in the playoffs again. It was too close. Too close for liking me.
I think it'll be all right. Well, they're not doing very good right now, so I think you're in the clear. With a run up the middle. Oh, of course I say that in the first
They
game.
just don't seem quite to have that punch that they had last year.
They-
Like I think that
The Chargers?
yeah.
Yeah, like right now they don't have to. That's what I felt about the Bills all year too.
I agree. I mean, both Chargers and the Bills have lost to some questionable teams.
There was a lot of high-powered offenses that kind of dropped off the radar all of a sudden. Either halfway through the
enjoyed the
season or at
season
the
as a
beginning
whole.
of the season. But
Because of that, to be honest with you.
Yep.
I enjoy that we didn't go
from
7
a fantasy
weeks
aspect,
or-
I hated it.
or
I absolutely
potentially
could
8
not
weeks of like,
stand.
somebody's. Let's all talk at once. Somebody is undefeated still. Like I don't want an undefeated season by anybody. I want everybody to lose all the time.
I think that the somebody's got to lose all the time. It's the Lions, and then
Well-
also the Vikings.
Well, who's number 1 in the draft right now? Jaguars.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Jaguars, locked that
Jaguars.
up, and then Lions are number 2. I think that the extended season will lead to a lot less potential of there ever being another repeat undefeated season. I don't think we'll ever see it again, honestly.
I'm
Could
gonna
I
say
be
that
wrong?
it's possible,
Absolutely.
but
It's
yeah.
possible. It's possible, but I think that the longer our seasons get, the less likely something like that is going to happen.
Yeah.
Personal.
I enjoy the extra game for the regular season. Like I've enjoyed this week of football, even though the first half of today's games were, I felt, I don't know, like time was moving so slow.
So slow. It didn't seem like there was much on the line for most of the teams.
Yeah,
For
sure.
I guess that would be the case for most of them, honestly. I mean, the
Mhm.
Lions coming out and playing like they did kind of surprised me a lot, honestly. I know that they at the time only had 2 wins, and they were probably trying to prove something to themselves, and the coach was probably trying to prove something to the players, and maybe have that carry over into next season. But it was one of those things where it really surprised me, especially with the Jaguars coming out and beating down the Colts, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, I can see the Lions kind of just giving this game away and taking that first seed. And even though they probably don't need it for what their team requires, I figured they could have pawned that off onto somebody else and moved down in the draft and gotten something else in return for it. But to see them come out and both those teams come out and play was kind of interesting to me. But at the same time, none of the games were really, they were low intensity. They were just kind of filler, it seemed like.
Yeah.
So
I would agree.
On that note, like as a fan of a team, like hypothetically your team, like you're the Vikings and you're the Chiefs. Say your team is close to potentially getting that first pick. So like their last game of the season is going to say whether the first pick or not. Do you want them to win or do you want them to get the first pick? Because like if you look at it this year, who's the standout that you need to be getting at that first pick from college? Because I didn't keep up to date on a lot of college football. However,
I didn't either. I don't think that
the Alabama
really
wide receiver that won the
standout.
Heisman, or like
Right, that would probably
Basically
be
anybody
about
from the SEC.
well, I mean that's how it always is. Nobody wants to draft from Notre Dame anyway. But who, like, there's nobody in the draft that's like, oh man, they need to go get that guy in order to turn their team around. Like there isn't a Joe Burrow, there isn't like anybody else type of thing or type of player that is gonna do that. And I almost feel like the first pick is either going to be the wide receiver for the Jaguars or like an offensive lineman.
And I think that was kind of what played into the fact that they were just going out there and playing, because there isn't really that set in stone number one overall pick. And the teams that are vying for that first overall, they both already have what they seem to think is their franchise quarterbacks. So unless you're using that,
I don't know if Goff's going to be there, and I don't know if he.
How much time was this his only year on contract? Or
that I don't know. Rookie contract. I have no idea. Inside jokes for the first podcast episode.
Yeah. So I was like, throw him out
from Marty.
I don't know what his tenure is left for his contract in there yet. Okay. But I don't
really either.
I don't know what the Lions need.
They need.
I feel like I'm yelling.
Defensive players, I feel like, is more so what they're looking at. They need a better D line. They need somebody.
They need somebody that can put pressure on the quarterback.
Right. They need
that edge rusher.
Outside linebacker, like outside linebacker, outside lineman, like something like that. They need.
But then who do they have for weapons on offense? And they have Swift.
They have Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Mm-hmm. Who's been going off lately?
Hawkinson's who been good. He just was hurt most of this year.
Right. But then you think about for the Jags, like they're gonna pick up that receiver then and give him a weapon, since Lawrence can't throw a touchdown that consistently because he's running for his life all the time.
Hey, he's got nice hair though.
Their best wide receiver this year has been Laquan Treadwell, who is a failed first rounder for the Vikings. Like, he didn't do shit his first 4 years out. I mean, good for him for finally stepping in and doing something. But from what I've seen from him in the past and being a Vikings fan, like, he never did jack squat playing for the Vikings. The guy looked timid and scared out there the whole time. So, I mean, like, that's not what you're looking for in your number one wide receiver. Don't get me wrong. They have some guys that could be that, but I have yet to see it. And maybe it'll be different next year when they've got that rookie running back who got hurt in preseason. What is his name? Travis Etienne or whatever. You know who I'm talking about?
Yep.
Maybe next year when he's their lead rusher, I assume he'll be their lead running back.
When do we get to stop saying for the Jags, maybe next year? Maybe next year. They've gone. They're going.
Not even remember that.
They're going on the second consecutive season having the first round pick. Second consecutive season holding the first round pick. I don't know.
Maybe I think that was Urban Meyer's plan the whole time.
Shad Khan needs to go in there girls. And just clean house from the G.A.M.R on down.
G.A.M.R. Sorry. But yeah, I agree.
A little nasally. I think they need to clean house. They need something different to go on in that organization.
But that's what I'm saying.
Really changed. Like they brought in Urban Meyer. Okay. And this is another topic I'm just kind of segue into. College coaches. There's a lot of talk about Jim Harbaugh making his grand re-entrance into the NFL as an NFL head coach.
I did see like on a list today that he's one of the top ones that should go to Denver. And I don't know how I would feel about that. He's a good coach. I think
there's a lot of talk about him going to Vegas too for the Raiders.
Oh, to gamble? Oh.
You know, I don't know.
I mean, that's a gamble in itself, to be honest with you. It's AFC West is just a gamble.
Harbaugh, I mean, there's been a handful of coaches that have come up, but like, look at Saban. When he came up and coached the Dolphins, what a travesty that was.
That was his second time around.
And then he goes back, and now he's just dominated the SEC for like the last 7 years. I don't know. I've college coaches coming up into the NFL have had a really bad track record to this point.
I mean, Kingsbury, is that his name in Arizona? Can't ever say his name right.
Yeah.
Yep, Cliff Kingsbury.
He got fired. He got fired, came in the NFL. They're doing really well. I mean, once J.J. Watt went down, though, like their defense struggled for sure. But
no, absolutely. I think he's got a good system in place. I think his system
has a really good system for defense over there, and that's what the Broncos wanted from him when he was the head coach. But the Broncos seem to have this idea that we need to hire a defensive coordinator as a head coach because we have a better defense than our offense right now. But then our offense struggles. We don't focus on those things. Whereas when you look at the success of Denver, whenever they were contenders, they had an offensive-minded head coach.
Peyton Manning.
I think it's been the same situation.
When your starting quarterback
Minnesota too
is just calling the plays, he's basically just the head coach. Anybody that Peyton Manning plays for, he's just basically the head coach and the quarterback. Okay, let's just put that out there.
Sure.
He's got a 5 head. He's got a lot of football knowledge going on in there. The dude is insane.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yes.
He could hands down pick apart any defense. I have no doubt. I'm actually surprised that he's not back coaching. I think he's enjoying his commentation though.
I think so too. Have you guys
heard,
watched?
I have it. It is a good time.
I saw somewhere that he's looking at getting part ownership of the Broncos.
Is he really? Good for him. I'd like to see that.
Nothing like going to a first podcast unprepared with my headset about to die, huh?
Plug it in.
Got it, bro.
Clap on. Clap off. Clap on, clap off.
First day here. There it is.
The clapper. No, that is not a sponsored ad.
Nope. Can't say that. This
All
episode is brought to you by
but
Crippling
if you're
Depression.
looking to sponsor us, feel free to hit us at our business email.
At the GAMR Podcast. All right, so let's wrap this up. This little football segment we got going on here. I want to hear from each of you. Last note predictions for the Super Bowl with Victor. Go.
Bengals, Cowboys.
Who wins?
Cowboys.
Wow.
I'm risking it, man. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I want to say it just for fun.
Wow. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm impressed. I'm not gonna lie. That's not as far fetched as most people would probably assume.
To be honest with you, I've noticed. Excuse me. After the last couple years, I think I would slowly say that the Cowboys are like my second team, and I don't know why. I think I just enjoy.
Cowboys are your second?
They're playmakers that they can consistently bring in, and it'd be entertaining, whether that's for drama or actual on the field fun. Like T.O. was fun to watch there. Des Bryant was fun to watch there. CeeDee Lamb is fun to watch. Ezekiel Elliott is hilarious, and I think part of it too, like, is so like they did the Hard Knocks this year, and that was fun. And so when you watch that, you kind of get to know a little bit more about the teams and the players. And like when they did it a few years ago with the Rams, I was like, oh man, I kind of like the Rams. I feel good for Von Miller that he's on a team that could potentially win it this year, but I don't think they're going to win.
Nah, just like rooting for the Yankees for me. Okay, Mark, Super Bowl.
Yeah,
who's in it? Who
Chiefs
wins
fan,
it?
rooting for the Yankees.
So I'm gonna do way far-fetched and just kind of throw this out there. So I've heard so many like random conspiracy theories about how there's this the NFL is kind of scripted and it's kind of like the WWE in a sense. So I'm gonna play into that. Watch, okay. So NFC, we're going Packers, right? Lambeau. We're gonna go with the Raiders, and guess who just died, right? John Madden, rest in peace. Raiders end up coming out and they win it 21-17.
Oof.
Wow, you even went with a
21-17.
score.
That's close.
Even went with a score.
Holding the Packers to 17 points though, the Raiders.
Yep.
Just don't see their defense being able to do that.
I mean it'll be one of those things that's gonna be tough, but I think that's gonna be there's gonna be some weird stuff that goes on, and it's gonna be I'm gonna say 21-17. It'll be Raiders.
That's fair. I can get behind that. Now, myself, I am obligated to choose the AFC West champions. Again, 6-time champion. To march and fight their way back into the Super Bowl for contention against the Packers.
You're gonna pick against your team. I know it. I can't wait to hear this.
Chiefs, Packers, Chiefs win. I don't want to risk trying a score because it makes me nervous just thinking about it.
You don't
Chiefs
have
on
to,
top.
you don't
Chiefs
have to
on
get
top.
nervous about it because
Chiefs on top. Chiefs on top.
It's not tough.
So
I don't know. I still think that this
you heard it here,
is-
folks.
I think it's gonna be packed.
I honestly think that anybody in the AFC can beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. There's not one team that I'm like, they can't beat them.
I think anybody can beat anybody.
The Chiefs have been so bipolar this year. Like they come out and like, especially the start of the season, like good for them for making it the end of the year that they've finally turned it on and like done something with themselves. But start of the season, I was like, really, this is the team that we've all been like clamoring about like for the past 3 years. Like this is the guy you guys gave a $500 million contract to. Like what are we doing? Like they look just trash. And like I said, good for them for turning it on and finally making something of themselves. But I don't know. I don't know if Chiefs have what it takes to get there.
I'm interested in yours, Mark, for the fact of the team that you've picked from the AFC side has not even made the playoffs yet.
But they will. Have faith.
But like
Have
they're not
faith.
on a good track of it for right now. They're losing.
Yeah, but they're popping off plays right now. They're looking good. Okay, maybe not. Okay, so
I'm glad you saw the score.
no, I'm not gonna backtrack. I'm gonna still go with that. I still think. I mean,
I would love it if
that's
they
not
tied.
the scenario.
I'd love it so much if the Chargers and Raiders tied, just to keep
Right.
the Steelers out of the playoffs. That would be my wish. 'Cause
I still
don't-
think
I want-
Packers go to the ship regardless, and it'll probably end up being the Packers that end up winning.
Oh.
I think this is the year that Packers win again, and then Aaron Rodgers decides that he's okay with their ownership and front office, and he stays another year, and Adam stays another year, and they try to repeat, and I think they don't, and then he moves on from there.
So the Cowboys play the Niners then? Is that how it's going to look for playoffs?
I was just looking at it too.
It was top, low. It was like the Rams and the Cardinals will play against each other.
Rams, Cardinals,
All right,
Cowboys,
no, Anthony, you wanted
Niners,
to talk about other things.
Bucks, Eagles, yeah. Yep, that's how it would be.
So
If-
that means
if-
the Bengals and the Patriots play each other. Oof, that'll be fun.
That'll be a good game. I am all in on the Bengals this year, though. I think the Bengals have been really good. Patriots have been good as well, but I think that the Bengals have so many more offensive weapons. It's going to be a matter of whether or not
I think it's going to be mainly
Burrow
turnovers
is
for Burrow.
actually healthy. Like that's the concerning thing. After he hurt himself trying to like finish out that game, I just don't know if he's fully healthy. I know they sat him this week, but we'll see what he comes out as and if he's actually fully healed. But, all right, I'm gonna move on to other things. If you guys
There we
want
go.
to.
Well, we heard the Super Bowl predictions right here.
We're done.
So let's see what happens. Good luck to all those
Mark's
teams
gone.
in
Chose
the
his team
NFL. Your webcam just shut
I'm
off.
still here.
Mhm.
So
Can't dare to look at himself.
on to the next point.
No,
So
no, no.
The other
I have a
passion.
little bit of a runny nose. I don't want to be picking my boogers while we're sitting here. So
What?
turn my camera.
What do you mean?
Content. That's what we all came for.
Chip, chop, chip.
The Mark Show.
The little...
So, 2021 is in the bag. We had a long year, I would say.
These 365 days.
In the year of gaming, I would say between 2020 and 2021 was probably one of the most stagnant years for AAA game releases that I've seen in a really long time.
Because everybody was just playing Call of Duty and Battle Royale games. And
well, between... So, I mean, you think about it, between that and all the delays, I think it really kind of hurt the market there for a little bit. I mean, we didn't get any major
Madden
exclusives. We didn't get... I don't even want to hear about Madden from you. Mr. I only play one game.
I only play one-player games because I don't want to have to rely on other people to have a good time. Not necessarily like that, but I enjoy, like, as you guys know, I can play a game by myself while in a party with you guys. You guys play with other people, and that's totally fine. Like, I don't know. I think that's, for me, like, first-person shooters and like playing multiplayer online for shoot 'em up games is just not like, I don't take it seriously, as you guys know, when I play. And so when you guys get super serious about it, I'm like, oh, I'll sacrifice myself and run in there. And that's more fun for me, just to be annoying. And you know, half siblings over here. Half siblings full annoying. But that's what I enjoy about gaming. Like, that's why I enjoy the Switch. Granted, the Switch has really weird games. Like, there's a game that I played the other day, and I say play loosely because it's not you don't play it. You just press the A button to continue, and you don't do anything. But it's called What Comes After. And it's basically the most depressing game I've ever played before. Yeah, it's really... Let me see if I can... I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But basically, you're this girl. And... Nope, that's... Yeah, I meant to type What Comes After Trillion.
I don't know. I think the Switch has really come quite a ways, or Nintendo in general, as far as kind of matching the same game releases as, you know, the two top dogs as far as the console race goes between PlayStation and Xbox. They put out some decent games.
I mean, they have Zelda, Mario, and Pokemon. Those are the games for the Switch.
Breath of the Wild, I think, that's got to be right up there with one of my top games.
A Zelda game on like a next gen Nintendo system at all. I'm still shocked
like
that
Breath of the Wild. You're saying you haven't played Breath of the Wild yet? Yeah,
I haven't played any Zelda on the Switch. I think it's wild still that the same Mario Kart has been out since GameCube. I know that they're making a 9.
They're finally working on 9. Yeah, I was gonna say they've finally announced that. But yeah, no, I can get behind that. I mean, Breath of the Wild was amazing game. If you're into that old school type feel, Metroidvania games, the Metroid Dread is a great game too. They did a really good job with that game.
That's on everybody's top 10 list, Metroid Dread.
Yeah, it's an insane game. And if you dig that old school Metroidvania type style,
right,
like, that game is definitely one to look into. But yeah, I agree. They've done some things. I will say that, yeah, they have been a little fewer farther between as far as like really big games, but there's been some decent games out there. I mean, we just came across, I mean, I know it's more recently, but we just came across Halo Infinite, Forza 5.
I can get behind some Forza all the time.
Forza 5 is top. I think it's in the top 5 actually for the 2021.
For Forza
Halo
Horizons?
Infinite broke top 10. Halo Infinite, I have yet, and I'm ashamed to say, I've yet to try the campaign
I knew
on
you
Halo
were gonna
Infinite.
say that when you said you're ashamed to say it. It's such a good game.
It's
dude.
in an open world now, kind of.
It is, and it's freaking fantastic. And a lot of people's complaint is like the world. Oh, they just took the same assets and they moved them around and whatever. And it's like the game is like play it before you knock it. The way that they transition to and from story, like it's so seamless, and there's no like loading at all as far as that goes. Like you go to the open world area, right? There's different little points on the map, and you can go to wherever you want to. There's little fobs that will open up more areas, kind of almost like Assassin's Creed-esque, where you like perch on
loads
the
while
little
you
things.
go.
Well, yeah, but like you go into this area though, and it'll start a cutscene of sorts, and it's like, okay, like what's happening? Like you just go into this area, and it starts into that story. Like it's not so much a cutscene, but it's like they'll do like
Transition scene.
no, not even like. Well, yeah, I mean, there's some of that, but it's more so like it's like the comms. Like they'll start talking about it, and they start just talking about what like who you're coming across, like whether it be a boss or whatever, and like kind of how they play into like who he is, what it is, and whatever it is. It's really cool the way that they did it. It's very very seamless, and it at first I was like, I don't know how this is gonna work because it's not. It's been so linear as far as Halo goes in the past. So to go into an open world setting and try to have it mesh well, it worked out really well, and I'm excited to see what they can do with it in the future. And this being their first go around, I was really annoyed at first when they said there was going to be no co-op, and because co-op has been a staple of Halo campaign for years since what Halo 2, Halo 3 was when we first got the first like four. I think Halo 3 was first 4-player co-op, right? Halo 2, Halo 1 was 1-player or 2-player co-op, if you will. And then I think Halo 3 was the first 4-player co-op.
I think because the biggest thing, excuse me, that was with the first Halo was split screening. Like, did you guys watch the documentary of Xbox on YouTube? Like, it's like a 5-part thing about the history of like of Xbox, and you should check it out.
That they did for their 20th anniversary or whatever.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like you get, there's people from Sony that talk about it. There's people from Nintendo that are talking about like what changed and how gaming changed in its own right and stuff like that. And like, I didn't know why it was actually called Xbox until I actually watched that documentary, and that's really interesting to me. But just the history of it, they were talking about like gaming, like how Halo changed gaming.
It did. I mean, like there was nothing at that point. Like there was like, okay, to be fair, like the first big like FPS game on console was what, GoldenEye. Before that, there wasn't really much, and then Perfect Dark kind of took over from where GoldenEye left off, and then I
think we're missing an important staple here in the gaming universe, that is time splitters.
Zombies ate my neighbors. Oh wait, yeah, time splitters.
FPS. If we're talking about FPS, time splitters was right. I think it kind of got a bad rap because it was stuck in between.
Come out though.
It was right around when Halo first came out for the original Xbox, and it didn't really have a big chance to compete because Halo was such a big title upon release that I don't think it got its proper due. I really don't. And that's what, before I even got into the playing field, right? It was time splitters for me. Getting into that
October 26th, 2000.
Getting into that FPS kind of realm.
Real quiet.
And I just think that's got to be one of the staples in there too, because it was a great game. It was such a great game.
A year later. But Halo did so much by way of like changing it, I would say. Like they took what was there. Like I said, there wasn't, as far as console FPSs, like don't get me wrong, there's countless that you could go back to on PC, but
Halo,
as far as console FPSs, GoldenEye was like the first, Perfect Dark after, and then after that, so time splitters, but between those two, then Halo took, and it really was combat evolved. I mean, it changed what we knew. Ooh. It changed what we knew about
fancy
the FPS series and genre, and it made it fun. It made it accessible. It made it like I don't know how many times I went over, like when I finally, like I was PlayStation and Nintendo and Sega
right
from day one, like all those, and then
Dreamcast.
Microsoft comes out with a console, and I'm like, Xbox. I don't want to get the Xbox. Like,
and it was
who cares about the
huge.
Xbox? It's Microsoft. Like, whatever.
Right.
And I played it for the first time at a buddy's place, and I was like, oh, this is why I want to buy an Xbox. And
this is what it's like not to have to overload memory cards.
Oh, dude, it was so good.
It
It was so good, though.
No, it had internal memory. That was one of the first consoles. That was the first console I ever owned that had its internal memory.
It was so good, though. It was.
You guys should watch those documentaries on YouTube. It's pretty dope. They're like an hour long each one, and I think there's 5 of them total.
5. Yeah,
And
I'll have to look into that.
It's pretty cool because, like I was saying, like
sounds interesting.
it's called Xbox because it's from the DirectX program. Like, and then they're like, well, it's called always something crazy. Like when you watch it, the names that they were gonna call it, you're like, it doesn't make any sense. What you're doing. But then like, there's one part when they start talking about like online gaming and how like Microsoft was one of the big people that turned that around too. Granted, Jim Carrey talked about it in Cable Guy, because you could play Mortal Kombat with a friend in Vietnam, but I didn't even think about the craziness that happened in gaming before watching that documentary.
It was at that time though too, like before Xbox Live was really like fully fleshed out. Like, I don't know if you guys ever did it, but like in Halo and Halo 2, like they didn't have
Split screening
online matchmaking at First Point, right? Like, so it was all local area network, right?
Oh, yeah.
At LAN parties. Like, so back in the day when I finally got my console, I had multiple other friends through high school and stuff that we would get together, I don't know, once or twice a month, and we'd get 16 plus people into this house and different levels of the house, and their parents were cool with us coming over and just screaming obscenities and playing. Like, and there was one night we had 24 people there, and we had like set it up so that whoever the bottom people were in the matches, we would flip them out, and it was just insane, and it was so much fun. And then like Halo 2 and all that stuff starts coming out, and like you couldn't, like, unless you had LANs set up, you couldn't really get that kind of feel. And then they had, if you set it up through your computer and had everything set up, you could do through what was it called, Game Spy. You could play online with other people by connecting your Xbox through your PCs and stuff like that, and doing it mimicked the LAN, but it wasn't Xbox Live. It was before Xbox Live's time, and it was insane to do it that way too. But it was like the LAN parties back in the day were just phenomenal, and I loved it. It was just so hectic and crazy, and like it made gaming for me, if that makes sense. Like it was just so good.
You just reminded me that I had no friends growing up. The fact that you knew 16 other people with an Xbox to get into a house. I don't know 16 people right now, and I work
being
with
in a small town. I know that you guys know how small towns work, but it's one of those things where like there was varying ages from like 7th grade up to seniors in our small school, and we got probably all 24 of the gamers that were in our school, which was probably a quarter of our freaking population in the school, and got them all into a house, and we're just playing games and just hanging out. And like it was one way to get away from like all the stuff outside of like drugs and alcohol and all that stuff. And it was nice to be able to just kind of sit there and just hang out and play games and just blow off some steam outside of the craziness of life.
Hell yeah. And I think gaming, even today, I mean, as much as all these gaming haters want to blame violence on video games, it's
no, I don't see much of that anymore.
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying into that crap that they're trying to sell people to negotiate around why kids have bad behavior. Just be better fucking parents.
I think
pay attention a little bit
lately. I think I've seen less of it lately. I mean, for a while there, it got pretty high. Like, oh, it's Grand Theft Auto's fault. It's Fortnite's fault that all these kids are terrible. Like, no, it's there's always been bad parenting. There's always been, unfortunately,
And don't get me wrong,
kids.
there are kids out here that are just kind of just assholes. You know, we're just gonna put that out there, okay? Some kids, what are you gonna do? You know, what are you gonna do? But back to the games. Halo for the original Xbox was like what Gears of War did for the 360 when it came out. I remember when Gears of War came out.
We're having the same conversation that they talk about on those videos. So like, this is what's really funny to me, because like the conversation, it's not to interrupt you, Anthony, but like what Mark was just saying about the LAN parties, like they said all that same stuff, and it's wild to me that like I may not have experienced those things, but the fact of like that was such a wide thing that actually was happening with other people, that maybe just because I wasn't doing it, that the fact that it actually was such an explosion in the gaming world is wild.
No, absolutely.
But yes, agree. Gears, fully agree. For me, I didn't play Halo. I've never really been into Halo. I don't know why. Maybe it's I don't feel like I should be playing jump ball with a gun, but I enjoy Gears of War. I enjoy the story for Gears of War, not necessarily just the violence of it. But yeah, Gears of War has been like a really fun game and experience for me.
The story of that game sucked me right in, for sure. Yeah. Great storytelling.
Judgment was the best one, so let's get that out of the way.
The thing that drew me in the most, having seen it, was the violence. Like at that time, there wasn't much else out there, especially on console, that was that brutal.
Shove a chainsaw onto somebody.
Right, like that first E3 that they had announced it, and Cliffy's on stage and he's talking about the game, and they show him like chopping up a grub, and I was like, wow, dude, like this is like, and then the heads popping, oh man, it was like, that's initially what caught my eye. And then I finally I was doing different kinds of medical research studies and stuff at that point, and I was making money on the side and doing that. Oh, and then I pre-ordered it, right? Yeah, Prax. And I pre-ordered it, went and picked it up after release. I think it was the first week of release, and didn't even touch it. Didn't even touch it for the first week and a half, 2 weeks. And my roommate at the time, this guy right here, ends up taking it, putting it into his Xbox, and I'm watching him play in the living room, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like, yeah, I'm playing Gears. I'm like, that looks like a lot of fun. Okay. You gonna give that back soon, or are we gonna get another? He's like, yeah, we probably want to get another copy. So we ended up going to
give it back,
get another copy when it was finally in stock, because it was sold out. It was one of those games that at that time it was hard to get a hold of, and it was sold out in town. And it took a little bit to get into another copy of it, but the multiplayer, like I was watching him play both the campaign, which I hadn't seen much on at that point, and then I saw him playing multis, and it was one of those games that, like, having taken a long break from multiplayer gaming, because Halo was the thing, and I did a lot of LAN parties, like I said, but after that, like, I kind of fell out of it, and then I watched him play some multiplayer games, and I was like, man, that looks like a lot of fun, and then just got back into it and got another copy, played multiplayer games on that, and then, like, everything just kind of spiraled from there. Like, gaming wasn't the same after that. Like, it was it just blew up. It blew up for me. Like, it completely turned the way that I looked at games, the way I played games, everything completely changed it.
Agree with you 100%. The days of us staying up till 2-3 in the morning, I'm playing on my little 19-inch TV that tends to whistle when it's on for longer than 2 hours at a time. You're out in the living room trying not to make as much noise as we possibly can.
Man.
I mean, it was to the point where we were trying to survive the red rings of death on the generation of the 360 when that thing started heating up because their GPU design was garbage as far as heat reduction. I had that thing shelled down to just the board.
I remember that.
And some buttons. And I had to put it underneath the window.
Looked like a record player when you put a game in there.
Yeah, I had to have that thing underneath the window in the middle of winter with the window open in order for it to run properly, so I could play
North
Gears.
Dakota. It's always
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah, minus 30,
North Dakota. Yeah.
so I could run my Xbox 360.
I had
those
the best
are the
luck with
days old.
my first 360. The day opening out of the box, I had the red ring, but that was a hard drive. Turns out, Anthony was there when I got it. What you remember the first game that I got for the Xbox?
I don't.
It was college basketball. JJ on the cover, so I had to. Because like for me, like when I got more into gaming during high school and like multiple multiplayer, Jesus, I played more like college basketball with friends, and we had like tournaments. Because like during like FBLA, we did stuff like that. But like that was the first game I bought. But for me, for shooters, Rainbow Six Vegas and Vegas 2 were one of the first ones. I remember when I was in college and played online, and me and a bunch of randos were just talking about Revenge of the Sith, and that was kind of like when I realized that the gaming community is people just like me. Even though I don't play games as religiously as other people, I do enjoy them, but it's still the fact of there's other people out there that have similar interests and stuff that I have too. I mean, that's how obviously like I wouldn't have met Mark had you guys not been roommates, but then there's other people that we all know that I met on Xbox first before I met them in person.
The gaming community is so vast, and I would say it's going to be a part of my life forever. I don't ever see it going away. But to kind of touch back on the Vegas 2, Rainbow Six, one of the first games that had some integration with the Kinect, the little camera, 3D camera. Was it the Kinect?
It was the camera, because they had that stupid little.
Because you scan your face.
Yeah. So it scans your face.
Take a picture of the front of your face, the side of your head.
Fucking 32-bit faces crammed onto these weird player characters.
I wish there was a way to find those pictures.
Oh God,
like on
so
the people.
It was that game. That game was one of the bigger ones. There was also was it basketball or baseball? Or maybe it was football. One of those sports games you could do it too. And Vegas, I will say Vegas did it much better. But the sports game, holy smokes, dude!
Some of those things would make it look like you just ground your face in a hamburger machine.
It looked really bad. They looked really bad. But Vegas was so hilarious because you made that character and then you're playing as your character. It's like that's you. It really looked like you. It's just such a bad version of it. It's like a weird caricature of us. Oh God, it was good.
It was so much fun. Though. Again, for me, like really those games, the story is what brought me in to those games, like the single player, and then just like the twists that they have in those games. That's why I enjoy those single player moments for those because I don't need to have those moments with other people. But like I enjoy twists too. Like I love a good story. Like that's why the first Black Ops is probably going to be my favorite Call of Duty forever.
All right, so let me ask you gentlemen a question here. We're gonna break these up in a couple categories. So we're talking multiplayer, we're talking single player, right? Now, your all-time top single player game, go.
Miss Pac-Man. That's not true. Don't listen to that.
What did you say, Miss Pac-Man?
Miss Pac-Man, yeah, that's what I said.
Jesus.
Of all time.
For you personally, what has been the greatest single player video game you've ever played?
I'm not sure if I'll say just greatest, but like probably what I enjoyed it a lot was probably the second Prince of Persia.
Really good game.
Ooh, those are good ones.
It's a really good game.
Because I technically never played the first one, but I played the second one a lot, and I loved that one. And then I remember when they made the Two Thrones, and I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. But the second one, I loved that game. That was so much fun. But then again, I have this weird thing where anything that involves time travel, I'm absolutely for it. And even though it's just like rewinding time and not necessarily true time travel, but kind of, like it catches my eye. But for me, that game was a lot of fun.
That game at that time too was so far. I would say it was far ahead of its time because there wasn't much else out there that was doing stuff like that, and it was, I definitely recall being intrigued as hell by that, and it was one of those games that I was like, wow, this is something different. Like it played so well too, because that was before Assassin's Creed, and it had that type of movement where like you're able to wall
run on the walls,
stuff like do stuff like that, and it was. I remember playing that game pretty heavy too. That was a good game.
Plus, any game with Godsmack in it for the soundtrack.
I was just gonna say, when you have a Godsmack soundtrack in a game, I'm sold. You don't even have to. Like, it could be Pac-Man, just running around eating ghosts to Godsmack, and I'm gonna play that shit.
Could you
Miss
imagine
Pac-Man? My bad. But anyways, okay. So Marcus, what about you?
Yes.
It's such a tough question.
That's hard though, yeah.
I would say like one that really sticks out. I would say would be N64 Ocarina of Time. One of those top tier games, like especially at that time, like there wasn't much else like it at that time, and it was so good. And how can you hate on spending hours and hours and hours of beating up chickens and then having them attack you? And then, like, I mean, it was just great. I mean, I just love that game. It was such a good game. I love that game so much.
Shout out to the ASPCA. Saving the chickens.
What about you, Anthony?
I'm gonna, you know what? For me, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night. That game is hands down, like, if you haven't played it, you're missing out.
I'm missing out because I've never
between the gameplay, the progression, the storyline, and the soundtrack. I mean, for its time, I don't know, man. That's my top. That's the top dog for me.
I thought your answer was going to be Metal Gear Solid.
I thought about it too.
Metal Gear Solid is good.
That's one of the first games I remember watching you play, and I legit, Mark, I don't know if I ever told you this before, but like I would legit make popcorn. I'm like, all right, that's fucking. I'm gonna watch Anthony play this game because for me it was a movie. Like I was watching the story, and like again, that's me enjoying a story. And then there's a part in the I don't remember which one it is. Maybe it's the second one. It's the one that at the end, it starts talking about like it attacks you as the player, like it calls you out, like breaking the fourth wall. You remember that?
Have to, when you're fighting Mantis and you have to change your controller port.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're talking about?
I think so.
Yeah, because Mantis is like you're fighting Mantis and you can't. He knows your moves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to change your controller port from port 1 to port 2 so that he doesn't know what you're thinking.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. That was so crazy.
Yeah, okay.
But like just the story in itself was just like so much fun. So like for me, I wasn't watching somebody use a controller and do stuff. It was just legit for me a movie. That's why I thought for sure that would have been yours, because I remember you playing that a lot.
I sank so many hours into that game. Metal Gear Solid 2, and then what was it, 3 Snake Eater? When it was back in the day or whatever, that those games I put a lot of time into. But as far as single player playability and just the overall experience, I have to go with Castlevania, Symphony of the Night.
So then, what's your multiplayer?
Multiplayer?
Swear to God, if you say anything that's got to be Battle Royale right now, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. I'm just kidding.
My best experience for multiplayer was probably Gears 1 until the cheaters. Pre-cheaters, Gears 1. 19-round lobbies on Mansion or Raven Down.
Oh, God. That seems like so much.
It was so good.
The worst part about that, though, was, like he had said, the cheaters, but also...
We had a solid year.
The lobby system at that point was so freaking trash, dude. Like, go in, get into the lobby, wait for other people to join... Select your team, because at that point it didn't force people onto specific teams. You had sat in the middle and you'd move to the left, you'd move to the right, and then if 2 people wanted to be on the same team, they're doing this whole number, like trying to get on the same team.
That was fun.
There was a way to glitch it where you could both swap at the same time. Oh my God, that was a freaking nightmare.
Oh, we did that.
And
We
if
had
you
to
were
do that a
host,
few
you-
times.
If you were a host, you weren't part of that. You couldn't be part of that. You had to be on a side, and you didn't get that. But it was something else.
Your
Like, at that
latency
time-
was fucking god mode if you had
Oh,
host.
dude, it was insane. It was insane. Yeah, Gears 1 was great. What was yours, Jeffrey?
Yep. So
I don't know,
multiplayer, we're on you guys.
I don't know. I don't really know if mine's gonna be much different than that. Probably not the first Gears, because I didn't really play that one online. I enjoyed Gears 3 a lot. But like for me, like again, multiplayer isn't really my forte. So probably Gears 3. Because
I would say
I
you
think
could
that
still
was the-
vote based on the experience that you had, right?
yeah,
So
but
which
like, that's
one of
what I'm
those
saying.
gave you the best experience?
But my experience is more so like different than what your guys' experiences were as far as for gaming. But that's why I would say mine would be Gears 3, because I think, Mark, if I'm not wrong, that's the one that we picked up from FedEx the day before we were supposed to get it,
Yes,
and then
sir.
brought it back to my apartment, and then we had like, not that this made gaming any better, but we had cases of beer. You had the actual Lancer gun on the counter, all that stuff, and then like it was me, you, and Shane. Like I had my R2D2 Xbox,
Yeah.
and then we were playing. That's probably mine.
Was that not the game that we got the early access codes for? One of the first games we ever got early access codes for from Rod Ferguson himself.
Yeah, that was for the beta, the
Mhm.
beta itself.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was, yep, absolutely, that was it. And then, yeah, like Jeffrey said, mine arrived early at FedEx, and I was like, I called over there because it said that it was at the station, couldn't be delivered until whatever date.
The next day, the 27th or whatever,
Yeah, and I'm like, hey, can I come pick this up? And they're like,
or the 17th.
no, you can't, because we can't deliver it until street date. And so we're like,
We then we hopped in the car and drove over there.
yeah, we're like, let's give it a shot. And
Yeah.
like we went over there, and I mean, it's what, a 8-mile drive or something like that, like out of town.
Mm-hmm.
And we get there, and I'm like, hey, do you happen to have my package? They're like, well, it's probably in this case, like I don't know if we'll get to it. We have to unpack this whole thing. And they're like 5 minutes later, the guy comes out, yeah, it's right here. Oh, thank you. We
I
take
remember
off.
that. Yeah,
We're
that's
like,
hilarious.
just so
Immediately
excited
put
to
it
get
in.
back. Yep. And well, like at that time too, like there were talks of like, oh, if you play it before a release date, you're gonna get banned and all this and that. But
We
like,
threw it right in there.
looked it up too, and like after we had already popped it in the console, I'm like,
Right.
well, you can play it on yours, Jeffrey, because I don't want to get banned if we're gonna get banned. He's like, I don't care, whatever, we'll do
Yeah.
it. And then we looked it up, and it was basically if they had gone against street date, it wasn't that big of a deal. If you had a disc copy, it was one of those things where if you were like pirating it, that you
Right.
would get banned, obviously, because then you're breaking street date plus you're playing a banned copy.
God, and here I don't know that I've got a podcast with a couple of felons. FedEx.
No,
No,
we're legit.
they gave
Fine,
him
that's so.
the item. Ever say felons on the internet?
Leg.
I'm not gonna lie. Thinking about it as we're talking, I forgot that we'd mentioned Time Splitters. That game was a lot of fun for multiplayer. That was probably the
Hey,
first
there you go.
true multiplayer game that I played. And I always, like, you guys know, every time I make a joke about like when they're gonna make a new Time Splitters or when they're gonna remake Time Splitters, because I think it'd be a hell of
I
a
think it
lot of
deserves a
fun
remaster.
on next gen.
I really do.
Yeah.
For sure.
But so then, what's yours, Mark?
Mine, man, like as I'm listening to you guys talk about the different games, like, yeah, I have so much fun with Gears back in the day. Gears 1, Gears 2, especially after we got hosts on Gears 2 once they fixed that.
Once we fixed our internet, what are you talking about?
Well, yeah, but once they started giving it to people with better connections, and then we got better connection and we got hosts. What was it, 8 out of 10 times? It was insane. We were getting hosts all the time. I'm still gonna have to go with, and I know I'm gonna get a little bit of hate for this. I'm gonna go with a Call of Duty title, little known game, Modern Warfare,
Unsubscribe.
the
Ooh.
original,
I mean, that is a good
Modern
one.
Warfare, because at that time we had such a vast group of players that we played with, both locally and nationwide, that we were playing with, and that was one of those things that kind of got me back into I mean, it was the same on Gears. We got into a little bit of like the semi like pro amateur like gaming and stuff, but playing Search and Destroy, hardcore Search and Destroy on Modern Warfare was just a blast, dude. And I miss that so much. It was such a good time, and like the different modes that you could play with all the different people. Like it was like straight from team death to hardcore search. Like it was just such a good time. Such a good time.
Okay. Modern Warfare. One of the best single player experiences that I've had was the In the Ghillie mission.
That game
when you're crawling around with Price
people
in Chernobyl with the 50 cal, just taking people out left and right.
Well,
that was, but
the
as
first time you do that synced snipe shot too was just
yep,
so good.
And I would say, as far as a multiplayer experience goes, my number 2 would have to be Modern Warfare 2. That was such a clean game. That was such a clean game. I remember so that one a lot for that game.
That was around the same time that I think Kid Cudi's second album had dropped, and I listened to that album the whole time I played multiplayer, because that was when I lived in the house on 2nd Avenue, and just would blast it, sit on the floor and play.
Oh, for sure. That was the game that Mark and I really got into heavy Spec Ops modes, and we were going for like world record shit. Like, I think there's probably
we had one.
I know we had one for sure. I don't know if it still stands or not, but I'll have to check.
I guarantee it doesn't. But it was one of those at the time. The first,
it was a breach and clear. It was a breach and clear in the Gulag, where we went in there and we had the top time, and I swear that thing stood for as long as we were playing the game. We had that.
Yeah, we were up there. I mean, even after we started dropping a little bit, like we were still up there, and it was one of those that I don't know how many times, how many hours, how many attempts we had at that we had finally broken that record, and then like after that, it was that was such a good time, playing those Spec Ops missions.
For sure.
You guys have a favorite game right now besides Call of Duty?
What's that?
Do you guys have a favorite game right now besides Call of Duty? Because I feel like you guys play that most whenever you're in our group messages and I don't respond.
I think we've been playing a lot of Halo lately. Still, I mean, Warzone. We go back to Warzone just because that was one of the, I think when Warzone first came out, that was the groundbreaking BR behind Fortnite. Apex was up there too. But I think when Warzone came out, it gave you that Call of Duty feel to a BR, and it really changed the BR game. And they set the standard, and now that standard, albeit, is fallen quite short from where they started, and its current state is quite sad. Especially for the amount of money they pull in from the number of players they continue to dupe into these BS updates they want to push.
Tons of bitches. I just don't get it doesn't seem like when you watch other people play it and it's the same thing over and over again, like there's nothing different about it for me.
See, I can understand that. Like, it is so much of the same, but not every game. The thing that I like about it is that not every game plays the same.
Right. And that's Battlefield, Call of Duty, and like, I get that part, but then at the same time too, like, I don't feel like each game gets, maybe it's obviously on just popularity, but each one doesn't get the same or give the same level of play as far as like enjoyment for it. Does that make sense? Like, people won't play some things as much as they'll play another one.
Right.
No, I agree with that. And I think we punish ourselves continually by punching ourselves in the dick, frankly, by continuing to, get in the Warzone scene.
First of all, why are you punching yourself in the dick?
It's like...
You don't?
No, I don't.
It's like an addiction now, right? You go away from it for so long, and you always end up getting drawn back in because it's just like you look at it, you're like...
That's how I feel about Madden every year.
All right. I'll play with you for a little bit.
I don't like the way that was said in this conversation.
I will say though, I'm
ourselves in the dick. You're all like, I'm gonna play with you.
All right, I'll play with you for a little bit.
Very curious about this non-build mode in Fortnite.
No build? I've never played Fortnite. I will never play Fortnite.
Oh well, I mean, it's not a bad experience.
I don't know. It's just not interesting to me. I'll watch people play it.
It's a good run and gun.
Yeah, it's.
I don't even think it's about the speed of the game. It's just not an interest. I'll watch people I'll watch people play it, but
I will not build shit. I will not, unless I need to get up to a chest and it takes me like 2 minutes to figure out how to make a freaking ramp out of wood or brick. Like I'm not.
We played in season 1 a decent bit, and then after that we didn't play again until what? Recently?
Yeah, like a couple months ago. Started getting into games again.
Oh, we played what? I don't know, 10 rounds or something since. Like it's not like we've been playing very much of it.
No. But Halo Infinite, I've been pretty heavy into Halo Infinite multiplayer. That's been a solid experience. Ranked mode, I think it could use some cleaning up. I think you would agree, Mark, between the way they handle their tier system as far as rank goes, and the point allotment. It doesn't make any sense. The game modes that are selected are not very well balanced. I would say playing oddball 4 times in a row kind of gets old, especially in a rank mode.
I wouldn't have so much of an issue with it if they had changed the way that how they determine whether or not you're going to go up or down. So it seems like their skill system, what they're ranking you off of, what they're judging you on, is very heavily based off of kill death. If they would change that to a point per minute or something like that setup, I think that would be much more suited for those objective based modes, because it really doesn't give me any reason to want to play the objective in an objective mode. Like if you've got 1 or 2 people playing the objective, then as a person who is more concerned about my rank, then I would just go for kills, which doesn't help my team win, which is completely opposite of what you would want to do in ranked, in my opinion. But
I agree with that.
I think they need to tune it. I think that the game plays really well. I love the feel of it. I think it feels more like the older titles for Halo. The gunplay, everything in general just feels good. I really want to see a change into the customization / store. I would like to see the ability to go cross core as far as how your customization goes. I think that they can retool a lot of that stuff and make it feel good. But as it sits right now, it's leaving a lot of people wanting, and it's tough. I mean, I really enjoy the game, but I think that there's a lot of stuff that are turning off those that aren't really into Halo, especially not for so long. Because there's a lot of people that are out there that are, I mean, it's been since 2000 that Halo came out?
2001.
When did we just turn 2001?
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, we're looking at 11 years ago, or 20,
wow.
20 years ago.
Somebody get my guy a calculator.
Yeah.
Wait.
20 years ago since Halo came out. So, I mean, it's one of those things where this is some of these guys' first ever Halo title.
Right.
So those of us old codgers who have been in the game for so long and can't do math at this time of night, I mean, it's a completely, like, it feels good to me. But at the same time, to try and bring in new and sustain the player base, I mean, I think that they need to make some changes.
I do. I think they've got a solid game. I think it just needs to be polished as far as the multiplayer goes. Ranked multiplayer. Let's even segregate it into that, because their standard multiplayer is still gold.
With the unranked stuff, you can still select more or less what you want now, and that wasn't even the case week 1, week 2. It took them a little bit to get that portion out too, so that you could actually select your modes. So it's one of those things where they're making the right moves. It's just a matter of making them quickly enough to not lose all interest altogether.
Absolutely. Well, all right. Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up with, what is your most anticipated game for 2022? And just real brief, why? What about that game has really intrigued you, and to the point, like,
I gotta find out what games are not pushing back anymore before I can even answer that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a quick search here too. Anthony, if you want to go ahead and start, by all means.
God of War, Ragnarok.
They're so boring. So boring.
I think that's the one I'm really looking at, excited to play, because I haven't played the God of War games since really the very, very beginning on the PlayStation.
Maybe I'm the worst gamer, because I find all these games that everybody loves to be just the most boring games.
Now, I will say there's a very, very close second, Breath of the Wild 2.
That's fair.
Because it's Zelda. I mean, you can't go wrong with Zelda.
No, you really can't. And I recommend Jeffrey going into and playing God of War, because it's releasing here within the next.
Well, I don't own a Sony device, so
no, listen here. Okay, a week.
Here's the kicker.
God of War on PC, January 14th. So the first one that just released, that game is phenomenal. Honestly, like, it changes like everything that you knew about God of War in the past. It goes from hack and slash into more of an RPG.
Interesting. That's the one with the sun.
It's yes, and it's so good. It's so good. Definitely look into it. I think that you'll really enjoy it. Breath of the Wild, I'm not really sure. I'm
excited for the Harry Potter, the Hogwarts game, but they keep pushing it. Because now it's supposed to come out Q3.
That's supposed to be coming out either.
But then there's also the Star Wars remake. I know Eclipse doesn't come out in 2022, but that looked interesting.
Okay, are they not making a Knights of the Old Republic again?
They're remaking it, I thought.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
It's not like a new one.
Remastered.
I was gonna say God of War Ragnarok, because I absolutely loved the last one that they just made, and that was part of my big reason for getting a PlayStation again. Being that you had said that, I'm gonna go a different route. I'm going to go something that we know almost nothing about at this point. I'm gonna say Starfield. The game looks to be I don't know if it'll be quite on par, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be like a outer space Elder Scrolls. Ooh. It looks like it's gonna be huge, and
11,
I'm really, really excited about it.
Would you describe that in the same category as Mass Effect?
Mm-hmm. It looks like it could be Mass Effect-esque, but there's so little known about it that it's
Have they
new IP.
Is there a trailer or anything?
Putting out, right? There's a teaser out there.
Because I mean, I'm on the website and just looked. Sorry, I'm not meaning to interrupt all the time, but like, all the images look amazing. There is a trailer on the website. Watch trailer.
Yeah, there's an official trailer. It's 2 minutes 20 seconds. Like, the game looks great, and like everything that we've heard about it so far. Like, and don't get me wrong, it's Bethesda. They've wronged us in the past. Like, we know this and that. We know that the same bugs that were in every previous Fallout and Elder Scrolls game will probably be also in this game. But that being said, I'm willing to take that
25 years
what
in
it's
the
about.
making.
And it looks great. It looks like it could be phenomenal.
I'm watching the trailer right now.
Okay. 2 minutes 20 seconds. Good.
I mean, it looks amazing graphically, but again, it's a trailer, so you got to kind of take that for what it is.
When they mentioned at the beginning, it's the alpha or whatever.
It's in-game engine or something like that. I don't know if it's actual.
Oh, they got bread in here. It's gonna be a great game.
Yeah.
That does look good. We'll see. We'll see how that one shakes out. But I think.
Did you already watch it, Anthony?
Yeah.
Jeez. Did you fast forward through the whole thing?
Yeah, you just got to hit the good parts, whatever. Let's get the meat of the trailer.
What?
You can make your assumptions.
What kind of game is it as far as like?
I believe it's supposed to be an RPG.
Okay.
So, like I said, it's more along the lines of like an Elder Scrolls type, if I'm not mistaken. And then it's going to be, but like outer space. And I don't know how much world travel there'll be or anything like that, but it sounds promising.
I like it.
Plus, it's a new IP, so it's one of those things where it's like I just want to see something new, something that we haven't seen yet, something that we haven't played. It's not a sequel. Like I just
something to shake up the current field. That's what we need.
Yeah,
we need something out there to shake things up a little bit, take us out of our comfort zone, bring us somewhere new.
Be among the first to receive news and updates now. Look,
so
I'm interested.
I think with that, that's a good place to wrap up. It gives us some more food on the plate for the next episode. I think we,
statistically, I don't leave food on the plate.
We did it. We made it to our.
I don't leave that
to our podcast.
Yeah, 3-hour long podcast.
Right.
We're here,
and of course, at the same time, and all of that time, the Raiders were able to take the lead.
They did. They're about to win.
They're not about to win.
They're going to win.
They have a better chance in which to.
You heard it here, not first, but you heard it here, folks. They're going to win.
Yeah. All right. Let's make sure we send this to our grandparents and our moms so that we can actually have some viewers.
Tell your friends. Tell that person that you don't like across the hall from you. Get it out there. The GAMR Podcast.
The GAMR Podcast.
For sure. That's where it's at.
All right.
Fellas, it's been a great time. I look forward to doing more of these with you. As always. First episode's about to drop, hopefully tonight. And we will be back with you another time.
We'll probably give you guys more information on when, too. As of right now, we're still pretty fresh.
Yeah, we're fresh. It's going to be fluid for a little bit, and then hopefully we'll get more of that stuff out there. I don't know. We were talking about potentially bi-weekly, or we were looking at going just once a week. But anyway, we'll get that information out there as best we can. For now, we're gonna do 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, kind of thing. But it's hit or miss as when we get it on there. But it'll be look for us weekly.
I agree. All right, fellas, it's always a pleasure. I will see you on the next one.
Later on the men, Jay.
Bye.
Gooses.
All right. So did you guys just hit stop recording?
I did. Anthony's doing the outro, I'm pretty sure.